Hello, my little TeaFlix friends. I hope you're all in the best of health, or the pink of condition. What's a pink condition? Oh, well, never mind. It might be a little bit controversial to say that. So I don't know how many of you, if any, were in London last week for the 50th Abbey Road anniversary. There was a huge celebration. Paul went with Nancy and Ringo went with Barbara, and there were lots of celebrities there, but of course, lots and lots of fans just clogging the area around, and the poor people who live beside that famous zebra crossing where everybody wants their photograph taken. Actually, I met a lady in England about 5 years ago who lives in that corner block, and even then she said it was a nightmare, so I can't imagine what it was like last week. But hey, it's only rock and roll. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? And let's face it, we all need a bit of fun these days. And for those of you who are brave enough to have an Alexa in your home, which I am not, I wouldn't have one as a gift, they're now going to have a male version of Alexa, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson.
I was going to say what, it doesn't listen to you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, it doesn't listen to you. There's rude noises from the cheaper seats over there.
And the champagne
as the champagne is being uncorked, yes. So now Samuel L. Jackson is evidently recording two versions, one with expletives and one without. So we know which one will sell the best, don't we? I think. But
what's your fan base anyway?
oh yeah, my fan base, yeah. So no, I wouldn't have one in the house. But listen, how about this for your tax dollars at work? A couple of weeks ago, I got a letter from the California Franchise Tax Board saying, yeah, you are in default for $432. So not knowing what it was for, but always being terrified of those guys, I mailed a check immediately. 5 days later, I get a letter from them with a check for 400 and whatever it was, saying this is a refund for taxes that were overpaid in the last period. Whoa. I mean, what kind of dum-dum opens the mail? Perhaps they've got Stevie Wonder in the mailroom. Oh, I'm going to offend somebody by saying that, aren't I? But never mind. I have a lovely guest today, Jose Sarduy. He's, oh God, he's not only ugly, he's fugly. Oh God, wait till you see him. But I first met him...
Yeah, cover your eyes.
Oh yes, calm down everybody. Oh, I'm verklempt. I have to take one of my tablets now. So, no, I'll just have a little drop of medicine to calm me down before he comes
Cheers.
on.
I decided to join you in the cheap
But, oh yes, come along.
Yes. No. Go on, keep
But
going.
no, I first met Jose Sarduy through GIs of Comedy, which was founded by our good friend Tom Tran. And that is a bunch of ex-military guys, all veterans, and serving the nation and keeping us smiling, one joke at a time. But he's done so many things, this guy, it'll make you dizzy. So come on over.
Yeah,
come on down. And the crowd going wild.
All
right.
I don't know whether to play the Stars and Stripes or the Cuban national anthem.
Not the second one.
No politics.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
no swear words.
Oh.
You can say shit, but not much else. Okay. Because, you know, we have a...
No swear words.
No swear
Shit's
words.
fine.
Shit's fine.
Shit's fun. And fuck, we don't want you to say shit.
Crap and shit. Just,
So, what am I going to ask you about? You tell me. I mean, what on earth,
How'd you get started?
sitting in my eclectic chair, not my electric chair.
it's so good to be here.
Oh, I know, it's lovely to see you.
I've
We
watched a
haven't
few
seen-
episodes and I was
really?
like, I get to sit next to the cat. It's so exciting.
Oh, thanks.
The cat's arse.
Cat's arse, yes. Cat's arse.
And the cat leaves immediately. And,
Yeah.
That's all you get,
How to
sir.
hold your audience. Yeah. The last time we met was at Tom and Kennan's wedding, wasn't it?
It was.
The Trans, Mr. and Mrs. Tran. And
Yeah.
I performed the ceremony, much to my delight. And at the end, when I said, I now pronounce you man and wife, you may kiss the bride, you may now update your Facebook pages. I got a laugh for once.
Everybody was tickled
See,
by it.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Well.
So listen, tell everybody about your career, how you got started, your comedy appearances, your flying, and all the things that you juggle with your life. Do you juggle as well?
I do not juggle.
You
I've
don't?
tried. I can juggle two things, which is not juggling.
No, it's not. You have to look at three. So go on, tell us all about yourself.
Well, I didn't become an astronaut, so that was my childhood dream.
Or was it?
Yeah. It turns out it's hard.
Yeah. And your teeth are loose when you come back from space.
Is,
Yeah, I know a dentist who looks after them.
is that right? Look,
Absolutely.
inside stuff.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
even know.
We'll talk
I just
about
thought you used the bathroom and it involved a hose. That's all I knew. So I kind of had lost my passion because I wanted to be an astronaut since I was like 7 or 8. And I was a pilot in the Air Force, so I was serving my country and doing great things. But I'd always loved stand-up.
Yeah.
But as a fan, because I was not funny. I was an inside joke storyteller.
I see,
So if
yeah.
you and I had an adventure
Yeah.
and we told it to the audience, you and I would be laughing.
Yeah,
And
they'd
the
say,
audience would be
"What?
like, "Can we get involved?" Because
What?
I don't know. That's okay. You're just using names nobody knows
No,
except
it's
you
about,
two.
yeah.
And then I was in that kind of funk where a professional funk. I had a passion since I was a kid, and it was now I had to lay it to rest. You know, when you put your childhood dreams away. And I was out, and I had a few drinks back when I
Really?
drank back in the day.
Oh,
yes.
I find that very hard to
It was
understand.
just enough to be lubed. You know what I'm saying? Just enough
Lubed,
lubrication.
not tuned.
No. You don't want to be sloppy. You want to be lubed. It slips
tuned.
right in, you know? And
I told you it was a family
that was,
affair.
listen, if you thought that was dirty, that's on you. I was talking about car parts. So
I need an oil change. I feel an oil change.
Ads will show you where your dipstick goes later.
I know exactly how much fluid is necessary. So I was meeting a girlfriend's new friends,
Yeah.
and I'd never met them before. And they didn't want to hear, because I knew other people's jokes, because I'd
Yeah.
watched so many stand-up comics. So I had comic stand-up timing
Yeah.
for other people's humor. But anything I told original was terrible. And so her friends didn't want to hear my jokes. They wanted to hear about my mom and Cuban heritage
Yes.
and my Air Force career. And so for about 10 minutes, something clicked. And I told stories, and they were laughing. Like one lady fell out of her chair. Another guy snorted beer out of his nose.
Very nice, lovely.
And it was 10 minutes of killing, as comedians call it. And then I was like, all right, well, I got to go pee, you know. And I went to the bathroom, and then I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
What just happened?
Yeah.
And that's when it started.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started doing research into what it took to be a stand-up comic, and
Tough life, though, isn't it?
but that's the thing. It's like I'm a big meritocracy kind of guy,
Yeah.
right? Obviously not an extreme meritocracy person. There are
I
limits.
knew what that meant. But I'll look it up later.
Yeah.
Funk and
I'll
Wagnall.
text it to you in a minute.
Fine.
where you succeed based on merit.
Yes,
Which if you take it to the extreme, then you start euthanizing people. But if you just use it as a everyone that's able-bodied and able-minded
Yeah.
is basically living in a meritocracy. Stand-up comedy is essentially that.
I see. Yeah.
Until you hit the glass ceiling of fame.
Yeah.
But if you're funny, you work.
Yeah.
You move up.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be a touring, working stand-up comic. And the more I found out about it, like the things that would be hard. Oh, you're away from family, and you hardly, and you're
Yeah.
always gone, and you're
Yeah.
sleeping in your car. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Like I was a weird dude. That all the things that most people hate, I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then it turns out most people suck at the beginning. I was like, that's perfect for me because I suck. And so I got up and I was stationed in New Jersey, flying cargo planes for the Air Force, and I went to New York City, October 20th, 2003, Stand Up New York, open mic night. I got one legitimate chuckle, and that was it. I'm in.
So,
I'm in.
oh,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So how have you managed to make it, fit with your stand-up career and your life in the Air Force?
Well, it was hard. I thought it was going to be a side career.
Yeah.
Because I was going to just stay in and make it a career in the Air Force. And so the last basic chance I had to still become an astronaut was to go to the U2 program, which is the U2 Dragon Lady is our spy plane, our big spy plane. And you wear a spacesuit.
Really?
And so that was going to be my avenue to
Yeah.
then go to a guard unit, get fighter qualified. and
See,
go-
I thought the U2 program was a trip to the pub with Bono and the Edge. What do I know?
It's a different U2.
The other
I think they named it after the U2. But shall we name it after a spy plane?
Yeah.
That's and so that was the plan. And stand up, I took leave. So I used vacation days to go do stand up. So while most of my comrades worked really hard and saved up their leave days to where when they reached retirement, they had 60 days of leave and 60 days of use or lose, which means they had to use it. So they would leave with 120 days off
I
of
see.
paid leave
Yeah.
to then find another path in life. I left active duty with 0 days. And they give you 2.5 every month, and I had -5 2 months before that. And so I had to climb up to 0 when I left. because I would just take vacation, and it was hard because I had jobs. I remember one time there was a big inspection for our wing, and I was in charge of the training program for our aircraft, and the inspection was Monday, and I had a gig that weekend, Thursday through Saturday, and so I had tickets to leave Thursday morning and fly back Sunday. My vacation was doing stand-up. So I basically slept in my office and did 5 days of work in 3 days. And we got a commendable on the inspection, but it was that kind of difficulty putting the two lives together. But I went to, in 2007, I went to the San Francisco comedy competition. I eventually went to the Seattle comedy competition. I got to the semis in San Francisco. I got to the finals in Seattle. Wow. I went to the HBO Comedy Festival in Las Vegas. And it was, a lot of things happened. CBS invited me to audition for the lead in a stand-up role, in a sitcom. Oh. And it died because of the writer's strike, but all of that happened in 1 year. And so the decision was, U2 or join the reserves part-time, be an instructor pilot, and try to make something of this comedy career. So that was back in 2000.
Big decision.
Yeah. So I made the choice. And
here we
then
are.
I left on a Saturday, or my last day was a Friday, October 15th, or I don't know what day it was. It was December 15th, 2008. I had a show December 19th. And that day the stock market hit 7,000. I was like, oh no, what have I done? What have I done? The world is on fire. That's when I decided to start a business full time. Oh no. But I made it work. So. It's been great. I'm very happy with what I chose.
Good, that's wonderful.
And you draw a lot of inspiration from your family, right?
Yes, I have a Cuban family, and we're immigrants, and we're political refugees, and so a lot of dark humor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I seem to remember one when we were lucky enough to go to the Army Ball with you guys. I was literally on the floor. She laughed so hard she choked on her dinner. Do you remember?
Chicken. I kept disappearing to go.
And that the irony of it was you were telling a story about a chicken.
My mother is just old school. My mother killed a chicken in front of me.
Nice.
And she just used it as like, oh, look, isn't this pretty cool? You don't need a knife or nothing. You just grab the chicken, and then he's dead, and now you eat it. And I was like, I'm gonna go clean my room. You want me to clean my room? Just terrified of my mother. And I was already terrified because she used suppositories when I was a child. So those two things, stick things in your child's butt and kill a chicken with your bare hands, and you don't mess with that lady. That's like a mobster. You kiss the ring when you come home and all that. So.
Yeah, maybe I should have taken a few lessons. Maybe I'd have done better with this one.
And what about your dad? What sort of stories of your childhood influence from your dad?
Well, my dad was like a classic over-the-top Latino.
Yes.
If you've ever met one of those, where they're just always hitting on you.
Yeah.
They just walk over, hello lady, you look so nice. How old are you? Let me show you what it is to be young.
Where is he now? We need him. Bring him on.
Unfortunately, my dad would hit on every woman that was around, even if it was my girlfriend.
Oh, lovely.
When I went out with my dad and a girlfriend, when I went to pee, she had to go pee because I wasn't leaving her alone.
Yeah.
Real Ricky Ricardo stuff, huh?
Yeah, well, but Ricky wasn't a slut.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Ricky was loud and like, Lucy, you're so crazy, but he wasn't out sleeping around at Club Babalu, he was. Which
that's what you think.
Well, in real life, I think Desi did,
I think he had
but it was Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
Was the big, it was her company. She's like, you're not going to be a slut on my show.
No.
Yeah. So.
So even though your dad saw your mom kill chickens, he was still kind of after it.
Yeah. Well, my mom toughened up a lot after the divorce, because she was a meek, Hispanic lady.
Yeah.
But then once he left us, she got real tough. She got pretty tough.
Yeah.
So.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Well, I just remember being young, and my mom drove a Plymouth Duster.
Don't even know what
they didn't even export them to England because they were so crappy. Yeah. I can say shitty. They were shitty. Car left us stranded so many times. We lived in a house where at night, the game we played before bed was, I used a 2-gun raid and just hit the corners so that cockroaches wouldn't crawl on us when we slept. It was very terrible.
They're actually, Plymouth is releasing an electric EV version of that now. It's called the Plymouth Roomba. Sorry.
You just ride it.
He'll do the jokes if you don't mind. Too many comedians in this house. I notice Martin's keeping very quiet at this stage.
No, he's answering all the
camera.
He's your technical expert.
Oh, yes, he is.
Answering
Making you look wonderful.
So, okay, tell us the worst show you did and the best show you did.
The worst show I
Question
did.
from the audience, yeah.
Worst show I did was, I don't know, all of them. The thing is, I come from a military background, and people like, what? That doesn't transfer to entertainment. And I think it does, because we give each other constructive criticism, right? Even in basic training, they were like, you suck, but they don't end it there. Like, you suck because of this and this and this.
Yeah.
You go fix that, you come back like, nice job, you fixed it. Now here are 3 new things that suck about you. And they keep getting it, right?
I see, yeah.
And so when an audience didn't laugh, I didn't take it personal. You know, other people would. I remember when I first started, there was this kid, and he wrote new political material every night. And he was actually really good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Like 80% of the time, it was funny.
Yeah.
And one night, he didn't do it really well, and then I didn't see him for 2 weeks. And when he came back, I'm like, were you on the road? What were you doing? He's like, nah, man, I didn't feel right after that show. I was like, wow. You can't let it hit you like that, you know?
I know, it must be very difficult though.
Yeah, but for me, I was, you know, for 4 years of stand-up, I didn't feel like I was an artist. I felt like I was just a pragmatist. You know, like llama farts. No, okay, don't use that. You know what I mean? I would just throw stuff at the wall and see what it worked. No, I think probably if I would say the worst show, taught me a lot. I was doing a show. It was in Detroit, in Royal Oak, I think is what it's called. So it's the Comedy Castle, and I was trying to get into that place. So I booked a gig in Novi, Michigan, and I discovered some things about Novi, Michigan that I had not known. So I go and I do a guest spot at the castle, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll get you, management, send in your bails. We'd love to hire you." Great. I drive over to do my booked gig in Novi, Michigan, and at this point, I've been doing stand-up maybe 5-6 years. I was a middle act, and my material had worked overseas. Right? I tried England, and it had made them laugh. I mean, at first I had to explain it, because at first they're like, "Oh right, it's quite funny," and
rather amusing.
that's right. And so I explained it, but the jokes, were working everywhere. I went to Novi, and the guy before me, the host, he did sex stuff. The audience was laughing. I get on stage. The Cuban stuff, there's about 50 people. The Cuban stuff got the usual reaction in 4 people. The other 46 smiling, no laughs. I go to the Air Force stuff, that gets laughs. I do relationship material, sex material, that gets laughs. Anytime I would just reference the Cuban stuff, 4 people laughing. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I'd never seen that before. An entire room that was. I guess that was the worst show because, but it was also one of the best shows because it taught me don't be cocky.
Learn a lot. Yeah.
Well, do you think it's because just geographically, simply they're in Michigan, they probably don't have any one-on-one Cuban experience with families like yours?
That could be it, but I think it's a statistics thing. So I used to do a spreadsheet on Excel with my jokes, and I would tabulate how often I've done them and how diverse the audiences were, and that's how I constructed jokes. I'm an engineer. That's what I studied.
Like Joan Rivers and her 3x5 cards, right?
Right, but even more technical. I had equations about how to construct a set, and
I'm so afraid for you.
Here's your audition set, and here's like 95, 99, blah 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 blah, down the line. So I was very technical about the art form, but it was hard because it was a lot of moments of nothing.
Yes.
And but it was the most instructional set, right? Because the way I put it is, the very best joke ever written will maybe make 90% of the people on Earth laugh. That's 7.8 billion people.
Yes.
That means 780 million people will not laugh at your joke.
Yes.
The odds that the room will be full with that 780 is very low, but it could happen. And I think that's what happened in Novi, Michigan. I just got the percentage of people that didn't like my Cuban stuff. So that's probably my worst. And then my best show, actually, I think it just happened on Saturday.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so I went back to my 20-year reunion for the United States Air Force Academy.
Yeah.
and I had been sweating about how to do the jokes and for these people, and I've been telling these stories everywhere, but I had not been using first and last names. Mm-hmm. But here I could use it because everybody knew.
That's right.
Right, and so I did it, and I got a standing ovation at the end, and it was probably the most. It was great.
Rewarding.
It was great because people after were like, "You were not funny at the academy." Like, I know I wasn't. So that was probably the best show. It just happened recently.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
But you guys also have, with the whole GIs of comedy, I mean, there's the JoseSarduy.com brand,
Right.
but then the GI. So you have sort of two vocabularies of, you know, you can speak to a military audience in all the acronyms.
Yeah.
And then so you almost have to do comedy in two languages, don't you? I mean, it's all English,
Sort of. I mean, I put a little flair in there when I do military shows to each joke, but it's maybe, you know, a joke that's 100 words, I may add 5 or 6 that just make it hit harder for the military audience.
Yeah.
It's really not much. It's like my Cuban stuff when I tell it in Miami, instead of saying my grandfather, I say my abuelo. So I just add one word here and there, and it's enough flair, but I try to write my jokes so they're universal. Yeah. One of the things that bothered me about some of the bigger names, like say George Lopez, is he does large swaths of Spanish.
Yes.
And he never translates it for anybody. And so it's like
he loses me.
You're ostracizing a good bit of the crowd for that part. And the crowd is like, well, this is the part where I go get a drink, you know, or, you know, I'll sip because obviously I'm not going to get it. Yeah. And I never wanted to do that. I wanted
it's
to
like
always...
when Keith Richards wants to sing at a Rolling Stones concert, that's when everyone goes to the bar. Same thing.
True.
No, Mick goes, oh, Keith's going to sing one for you, and there's a rush for the bar. It's absolutely true.
I'm sure he loves that. He loves that. It's
he's lovely.
It's my favorite part when everybody.
And then they put the background vocals up, so all you hear is like,
even the rest of the band is, you know, in the back.
And as Lou Reed was saying, and the colored girls go, do.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you know it's bad when who's the other fellow that I can't understand?
Bob Dylan
can't understand.
Yeah, when Bob Dylan goes for a drink, when Keith
Bob
Richards
Dylan
is singing.
goes to the bar, you know. Oh boy,
It's bad.
rock bottom. But he's still a lovely man.
I'm going to fill up my beverage and come and join you.
Come sit on the couch.
So what's with this yellow airplane and making people laugh and turning them upside down?
Well, I had an idea because I wanted to create my own show. Because I'm a little older now. I'm 42, and as you know, the entertainment industry is very ageist.
Yes.
To break through, because once you break through,
Yeah.
then they hire you till you're old.
That's right,
if
until
you're
you die.
if you're a man.
Till you're 100, yeah.
Women, you know, there's a gap.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
you look older than 30, until you look about 60.
90.
Yeah.
Oh
nothing.
no.
There's-
I'm in it. She's just coming out because she's going to be 90.
And just coming back. That's the whole point.
Yeah. No, I'm in this. I'm 59, so I'm in that desert of. You're not Sharon Stone, but you're not Jessica Tandy.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so-
It's terrible.
Exactly.
But
anyway.
for a guy that looks like me, right, you only have a certain amount of years to break in, and so I was like, all right, I pitched a bunch of shows, and I felt bad that they were always like, no, we don't know how we can sell. Even the GIs of comedy, we tried to sell the special, and they're like, we don't know how we could sell it. And I was like,
What?
Oh.
I know.
we got a
But
standing
don't
ovation.
you
at
think
this show.
sometimes the decision makers are about 12 years old in the office? Little girls who
Yeah,
on their cell phones.
yeah. Well, the gatekeepers of the industry
Yeah.
didn't get there through merit. A lot of the time, they got lucky. They got into place, and they may not even know a lot about. And some of them are humble and know that they don't know much about it. There's like, look, I got lucky, and but I can't just let anybody through this door. And then others are like, oh no, I'm the best, chooser of the next talent ever. And they're like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Look at your success rate. It's very
Better,
low.
yeah.
And so I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to produce things on my own, make them work, get an audience that already loves it, and then take it in and pitch it.
Yes.
And so that was a 3-year process, and I did it on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And so I thought, what should I bring together for my show? And I thought, well, I'm an aviator, I'm a pilot, and I'm also a TV host and a comedian.
Yeah.
And who do I know? I know comedians. And so I thought, I watched Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Right. And so now then I saw, it's a clip, and you could look for it online. It's a French guy. I think they're in Montreal. And he's taking up his daughter or maybe niece or something, and she's in the back. got a headset on. She's adorable, and she's holding on. He takes her up and they do aerobatics, and she's just giggling, just loves it. Yeah. And so I thought, holy crap, that's the two worlds. Do aerobatics in an airplane, put a professional comedian in the back. Yeah. And most of them don't get to fly with the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels. No. So I'm going to take them up in an airplane that looks a little rickety, so adds the fear factor.
That's right.
And then just let them go. Let them be a stand-up comedian.
Looks like the Yellow Submarine, except it's not submerged.
That's right. It's a little tiny. Yeah. The paneling is on the airplane. There's tape holding some of the paneling. And I just thought, I'm going to bring those two things together. And so I created Flying Funny. Yeah. And so it's like comedians in cars getting coffee, but we replaced the cars with airplanes and the coffee with screaming. Yeah. So.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't get Hollywood's attention, geez, Yeah. I went to about 15 years ago now, probably. I was about your age, probably, early 40s. And we had a bunch of ideas for e-entertainment type shows. And I got a meeting at a very big Tony production company, and I thought I was meeting either the name over the door or the senior vice president of programming. And I got there, and it was on Wilshire opposite Marie Callender's, and I get there early, and I sit there, and 45 minutes past the appointed meeting time, two chicks came down that looked like they'd just come from Coachella, and they're texting each other on their phones, and they're standing side by side. And so they're like, Ruth, McCartney, oh yeah, okay. So we go, I follow them with their heads down. No, welcome, would you like a cup of coffee, kiss my ass, nothing. Right. So I go in this room, I sit another 45 minutes, and then they come in and they're like, oh, sorry, Mr. So-and-so's, he's called in and he won't
dare you, go on.
No. And he won't be able to make the meeting, so pitch it to us. So anyway, I pitch all these crazy ideas. Some of them are actually on the air now. Yeah. Not credited to us.
Of course.
And one of them said at the end, she said, by the way, one question. I mean, like, you're like the ideas person. Like, you're not going to be like on camera. Ew. She actually went, ew. Yeah. And I said, oh, good God, no, I wouldn't want to frighten the children. God forbid, So I said, I think this meeting's over, don't you, ladies? So I get my stuff and I go. And I've got my parking ticket in my hand because now I've been there nearly 3 hours for like a 20-minute pitch, and it's going to be $478, like tax return money to get out of the car park, right? And so I'm walking past and whatever. I'm going to swear on your show, sorry. The woman at the front desk says to me, oh, do you need validation? I said, no, thank you, darling. I'm fucking fabulous. I just left the building. But Hollywood. And everybody's like, oh, you're meeting at so-and-so Productions? I'm like, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
No. Ew.
Yeah.
Because I was like 43 or something. I was way too old.
That's a sell-by date. Yeah.
I don't know. I think there should be more all different ages on screen. Just because that would normalize it.
Well, diversity is making a dent now.
If you're always showing little petite elven women, and that's what women are on screen, they're not realistic.
That's why I think things like Grace and Frankie was such a big hit on Netflix, because women like us have something to identify with. There's Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. I can get with that.
Yeah.
Right? But had they not been Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda for the last 40 years, are they going to cast two 65-year-old unknowns? Probably not.
No.
If you're watching Hollywood, get with it.
I'm available. Always will to watch.
She's cheap too.
I'll play her young lover. I don't care.
Cheap but not slipped. Now you see your dad's popping up again. So where can people find you, and what's next for you, and how can our audience, lift you up and give you some more love and get that Hollywood audience going?
I would love it. Yeah. So I'm on revamping the website, but go to josesarduy.com, JOSESARDUY.com. Sometimes you have to explain Jose to people because but it sounds like an H. Like I know.
Yes.
If someone ever texts you and they're Hispanic and they write ha, it'll look like ja.
Right.
JOSE and then SARDUY.com. That the calendar's on there. We're setting up pitch meetings for the show Flying Funny. You can go to flying-funny.com.
Okay.
And see the 3 episodes I produced. I actually produced 6, but
The other three
things
died.
went wrong.
Did the other three involve vomit, maybe?
No, cameras died, airplanes
Crashed.
didn't work.
Okay.
Made everybody nervous.
Moving back.
One guy was too fat for the plane. So it was
Low balance.
So there were a lot of
And it doesn't have a toilet, does it?
No.
No, you can't even
I
stand
give
up.
them a little baggie.
Or a big baggie.
I tell them not to eat a lot.
Yeah, don't have Indian food the night before you go out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm starting a college tour. I'm starting to do more universities and colleges. I'm doing the Northeast here, actually starting this Thursday with Utica College in Utica, New York.
Take a jacket.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh, pack your winter woolies.
I
up
will.
there.
I'm a Florida boy. I know.
Yeah.
I've been to the North Pole, and I looked like I was going to discover the North Pole.
Understand.
And so I'm doing that run. But it's a couple in November, and then I'm going to a couple conferences. So hopefully a lot more colleges in the spring. And then I also work for the cruise lines. So I work for Carnival, Norwegian, and Holland America.
Oh, great.
So if you're ever on a cruise and you want to see me, you can try to coordinate with my website and see what ships I'm on. The next one I'm in is the Carnival Fascination out of Puerto Rico, and that's in end of October. So.
I heard about a new app. I don't know if you're on it or hip to it yet, called Comedy Grind.
Yes.
Where- Yeah, so it's kind of like the bands in town for comics, right?
Right. It has
So-
all these functionalities that I love. I already had versions of it, and to have it all in one place is really great.
Yeah.
So you can tag your favorite comic and make sure that you don't miss a show, right?
That's right. You can tag comics as a comedian. You can take notes and write down contacts and all this stuff. Just makes it all easy, all in one place. So,
So if you haven't downloaded Comedy Grind yet, it's pretty good, and you can find this ugly young man.
I'll work on it.
So
Maybe I'll work behind the camera.
Which leads me into our the theme of you got your very own limerick this week.
Oh, I've been waiting for this.
So I put the glasses on.
yes,
Are
yes.
we ready?
1,
2, 3. There
was
once
once.
start again.
Focus, Brits,
Use your
let's
words
go.
in the right order. Sorry about that.
Let's start drinking in the morning. That'll be great.
Way ahead of you. 1, 2, 3. There once was a young flying ace whose only gift is not that face. He can make us all laugh with his gags and his gaps. So go see his show. Watch this space.
Oh, I love it. I love
Absolutely.
it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for schlepping all the way down the lovely 405 this Tuesday morning.
That was great. There were only 3 accidents.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't tell many people this, but I have a superpower.
Oh, good.
Yes, it's. I think it's semi-magical. It might be like an X-Men genetic superpower, but I don't know how I'm going to use it. But it's pretty amazing. Whatever lane I get into becomes the slowest lane. It's pretty amazing. So don't cut me off, because if you do, you're going into a bad lane.
I think you maybe DNA-wise, you may be related to my husband.
Yeah.
It's a weird superpower to have, but if I want to get places late, I'm just the
I'm
best.
your man.
So basically, if you want to be late for your own funeral, hire you to drive the hearse.
That's
right.
right. Exactly.
Splendid. Well, thank you so much for coming
Yes,
down.
thanks, darling.
You can find out lots more about our lovely Jose at josesarduy.com
Yes.
and flying-funny.com. So stay funny, my friends.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, goodbye. I love you people.
Bye-bye.
Oh, bye.
See you next week.
Yep.